All right. Why is it streaming at a terrible quality? Let's figure this out. All right. All right. No, it's streaming. It's streaming right. Um, sorry. I'm checking out my um, live stream here on the iPad so I can also read the emails and everything. So if you see me looking over there, it's because I'm checking out your comments. All right, guys. Hello, everyone. David Seven Skies here, broadcasting from my best friend mansion. I'm still stuck outside my studio, still in lockdown here in Italy. So my best friend's here. He's upstairs. He's working. He's talking to other people. So there might be some talking going on and some background. But this is a special situation. So please don't care about whatever is happening. Okay, so yes, I'm gonna upload the video. I'm gonna keep the video on YouTube. I might do. We'll see how it comes out, but I might do like a better version when I'm back in the studio. I might do like a studio version, like a pro version, or if this is good enough, I'll just skip this one. But yeah, so what you guys see here, it's the project of my new track with Nervo called Love on Me. And as you can see, classic Seven Skies looking project. I've already shown this on Instagram, but obviously Instagram is like this tiny. So here you can see the project in its full glory, and you can probably hear better than Instagram as well. All right, classic Seven Skies Ableton project. And yes, let's start with a couple things that come from Nervo, and so I'm not going to be able to explain it to them. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to explain them to you. And the lead is actually from Nervo. I didn't do it. They sent me this idea of the lead, and I really liked it. And when they sent me the stem, I tried to replicate it and I tried to make it better, also because it had a couple problems. And I was like, all right, it's gonna be a little bit easier for me to redo it and have it fit in the mix better. But it's a very simple sound. It's a saw wave, but even if my life depended on it, couldn't get it to sound this good. So I kept their stems. And there's a bunch of stuff that they sent me. The vocals is from Nervo. It's actually, I don't know if it's Mim or Liv who's singing, but it's actually them. And the lead is from them. Some drums are from them. Some fills are from them. There's a bunch of stuff that's from them. Then they sent me, the way we worked is that they sent me the first idea, and I loved it. Then they sent me the stems, and I just took whatever I liked. Again, some drums, the main lead, some fills, and then I built the song on top of it. But it was a really nice sort of 50-50 job, although the final project is in my computer. But like I said, the main idea for the drop is theirs, and yeah, no, it was just a really good track to work on. So without further ado, I talked enough. I'm gonna put on the speakers, my headphones, sorry, because I need to hear. So let's start with the lead, and I'm gonna explain what I did. super simple. It's just a saw wave with again, I don't really know if they added a pitch bend or if they just glided the note and then they just like made them a little stabby. Something vibrated here. I don't know what that is. Oh. And yeah, so what I did was just a bunch of compressors and saturators and EQs and reverbs and stuff. So this is an OTT. Then here you see a Seven Skies project, and I already explained this on Instagram. This is a plugin. This is bypassed, but it was actually turned on when I finished the track. This is a plugin that I was making with a developer, and the developer disappeared, so it was never finished. If there's a plugin developer here, just let me know, guys. We might finish this. It's a good one. But yeah, so I had this plugin. Then there's I'm not gonna open it because it's pretty terrible right now the way it looks. It's just a basic GUI, so it's yeah. I don't want to show you guys. Then there's a saturator. It's giving a little bit of drive, a little bit of color, not too much. Then we go into an EQ. I cut out all the lows, a little bit of a bump on the middle, and this frequency here was a little bit too resonant-y, and so I killed it. And then bump on the highs and bump on the extra highs, nothing crazy. Then there's the Netherland ducking reverb, which is basically, it's a reverb that, it's the same reverb that I used in my track with Kashmir, Netherland. And so if I play it without the, actually I can just play you the reverb and see how it sounds. It's a nice room. It's done with the Valhalla room. It's not a huge reverb, but it just gives a nice room. It's not super small either. I really liked it. Worked really well on Netherland, so I thought I'd reuse it again. It's actually really funny, but this song came out 2 weeks ago, but the first time I worked on this song was actually May or end of April. It might actually be around 25th, 26th of April, 2018. So this song is actually 2 years old. It had a different breakdown. I remade the breakdown last year in November. But other than that, the drop was done 2 years ago. Alright, I'm also gonna delete some stuff that's not being used because my computer is already dying. So yeah, this is the lead. The lead is, like I said, very simple. It's just a stem that they sent me. The only thing that's a little different is the second drop, where we used a little bit of a different lead because there's the 808 part. We'll get to that, but if you want to hear how it sounds in the first part of the second drop, this is how it sounds. So that's the lead. I wish I could show you more, but this is a stem, so can't really do anything with that. Can't really show more than what I already did. Now, what I can show you is the bass, and the bass is something that I'm actually very, very, very proud of. So the bass is two things, and the bass part is gonna take me a lot to explain because there's a lot going on over here. So first thing is actually not a bass, it's a tom, and this is how it sounds. So this is the first part, first layer. Then second layer, we got my little boy Get Low. So Get Low is playing the sub. Okay, so couple things about how I mix this whole thing together. Let's go back to the tom sound. We have a fab filter that I'm not using, so I'm actually going to delete it. So we're going to have a little bit of a better performance on the computer. Then I use this Native Instrument Transient Master. I really like this one, although now I switched to the Drum Shaper by Ssl and Audio or something like that. It's the same guy who do the same developers that do RC20. They have a transient shaper that is really good. But again, this project's pretty old, so I was using the Native Instrument Transient Master back then. And yeah, so this is actually not giving transient, it is removing a little bit of the tail of the tom just to make it a little tighter. And then on Get Low, there's a big low cut, high cut, as you can see, and then there is the wave pusher. And if I bypass it, my friend just walked in. If you bypass it, this is how the Get Low sounds without anything on it. While if it's on, I mean, this doesn't really matter, the EQ doesn't really matter. The whole difference is made by the pusher. This is with it on, and this is with it off. So why did I do that? Reason is so this pusher introduces a lot of distortion, obviously makes it louder as well. And the distortion in this case helps having the bass cutting through the mix, and this helps a lot when it comes to little phones. And you could really hear when I streamed this this project on Instagram the other day. I did this pretty much the same live stream on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow @7skies on Instagram, by the way. During the live stream on Instagram the other day, you could really hear the difference. So when I played it with the pusher turned on, everybody could hear it. And when I bypassed the pusher, nobody could really hear the sub. Again, this is not really a sub though. So this is a live or a premiere. This is actually live. So I'm also gonna try and like read some of your questions as I'm doing this, but for the most part, I'm just gonna focus on the project, and then if there's a little bit of time, I'll focus more on your questions. But yes, so this is not really a sub. This whole thing, the Get Low layer or the tom, they're not really a sub. They're kind of more of a bass / percussion. Now, talking about that, what I'm really proud of in this song is the rhythm that this bass or tom percussion plays. Normally, in any other song in the world, what you'd get is, I'm gonna solo a couple things. So what you would get is a rhythm like this. Pretty standard. It's a type of rhythm that we've heard a million times, especially dance music and reggaeton and all that kind of stuff. Now, what I'm very, very proud of when it comes to this bass is that from that rhythm that you sort of, you're very, this rhythm, you're very used to it. I switch to an offbeat rhythm, and that paired to the other rhythm kind of sounds a little bit out of place, and it's kind of surprising in a way. So you get this, if I extend the loop, you get this rhythm now. So everything, you go from a rhythm to another, and it's kind of weird, but I feel like this is what sort of gives that element of surprise, and I don't know, makes the song a little bit more original. In the meantime, I see the person who was supposed to code my plugin just came into the live stream. So man, we gotta finish the freaking plugin because I used it a lot in this in this project. So all right. So as you can see now, we have a bus. We have two bass buses. This one over here is the bus that includes the tom and the get low layers. The reason is they are in a bus because then there's a bigger bus that has other basses that I'm going to talk about in a second. But if we're looking at that single bus over here, we have, we don't need this UAD. We have an EQ, and that's going to have an automation. As you can see, there's a little red dot here. It's just going to filter at some point in the song. Then we have, again, the plugin. That's the Seven Skies plugin. That I'm not going to show you, but if you want to hear how it sounds, let's see. Just makes it very, very way more louder. And then we have a pretty big low cut. We have 43 hertz low cut on the bass. Makes no sense. I agree with you. I'm gonna get to there. Then again, something that hasn't been used, and that's about it for the two main basses bus. Now let's look at the main bus. The main bus, bass bus, has a Brainworks Ssl channel strip. And if you look at all of my main buses, or some of the main buses, you'll see that there is Ssl channel strip in all of them. So if we look at the bass, you can see that there's an Ssl. If we look at the synth bus, you can see that there is another Ssl, and I'm pretty sure I put it somewhere else, probably on the vocal. Yes. So as you can see, my main buses all have an Ssl channel strip. Now, I'm going to talk about the mixing a little bit later, but basically what I do is in the most important buses, for example, basses, leads, vocals, sometimes drums, not all the times, but the most important buses normally have an Ssl channel strip. The reason is this way, when you mix a song, you have a more consistent kind of sound. This channel strip is really, really good. I prefer this channel strip over the UAD and over the Waves ones. For the main reason is I really like this TMT, which basically simulates a real consoles, and it's like you're sending your buses to a real console, and every channel that you're sending your sounds and buses to have its own unique character, And what you can do, you can randomize the channels throughout all the projects. So if you have more than one channel strip open in the project, you can randomize the channel strip, and every single channel strip will sound slightly different, and that sounds a little bit more analog. So this is something that I usually do. And as you can see, that's all there is in the main bus. It's just a little bit, it's just very, very little bump. It's like 0.7 dBs on the 50 hertz, and then there's a little bit of compression, and that's about it. But now let's talk about the crazy shit here. If you saw this thing on Instagram, you already know what I've done, and I'm gonna say pretty much the same exact word that I said in my Instagram live stream. I'm not a person who tends to brag about like doing amazing things when producing. I, for the most part, don't do anything particularly crazy. However, I'm gonna brag about what I've done here, because this is some next level professor shit. If you see over here, there's this Dharma sub. Shout out to Kashmir. This is from Kashmir. There's this sub, and this is the sub of the song. But if you look at the bass, and if you look at the sub, you can see that it doesn't really make any sense. Normally, you want the sub to follow your bass. But if you look at the MIDI here, you can see that it's doing the exact opposite. So when the bass hits, the sub is not playing. And here, same thing. No sub, but the bass is playing. And here, the sub is playing, but there's no bass. And here, the bass is playing, but there's no sub, and so on. So what's going on here? Well, there's some crazy shit going on here. I actually posted this more detailed video on my YouTube, and when I'm done, if you're watching the live stream, obviously keep watching the live stream. If you're watching this after the live stream has been made, I'm probably going to put a link in the description and somewhere up here where you can see the detailed stuff. But I already posted a video about this, and it was about this project actually. So if you see here, you see two LFO tools. One that has a rather slow attack, a rather fast attack, and then one that has a very complicated, complex, and stupid attack that's a little bit slower. And if you look over here, you see that they are automated, right? So this sub is actually not acting as a sub for the bass. It's acting as a sub for the kick. So let me explain. Because this song with this like very Afrojack Dutch lead, I don't know, it sounded very old to me, and I wanted to sort of catch that vibe, and I wanted to put one of those old EDM kicks, but I didn't want to use a classic super average EDM kick, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and do something that just gives the vibe of an EDM kick, but I'm gonna sort of hide it somewhere in there. So what's going on over here is the sub is playing an EDM kick, and whenever the real bass is coming in, the sub goes away. And so I'm gonna play the sub alone. Again, you might wanna have your headphones on, or you might wanna turn on your speakers. This is gonna be very, not quiet, but there's gonna be sub frequencies. So if you're listening from a laptop, you're probably not gonna be able to hear. So here we go. So now if you play it with a kick, this is what happens. Okay, so here is what's going on. Now pay attention to this 2 points over here. You'll see that actually, let me bring up the automation. LFO tool and the other LFO tool. Wait, how do I do this? Oh my god. That's the other one. Alright, so you can see here when this LFO tool is on, the other one is off, and when this one is on, the other one is off. So this one is longer and the bass sounds more like an EDM kick, and this one is way shorter and this just sounds like a small tail of the kick. Now, why did I do that? I did that because this bass, the main bass, the tom bass or whatever you want to call it, just didn't sound right. So I'm gonna play the beat without the sub, and then I'm gonna bring the sub back in, and so you can hear what's going on. Again, you should have a good speaker, a good system to hear what's going on here. If you are listening from a laptop, you're 100% not going to hear it. But once again, keep in mind this is a club track, right? So I was actually working at when I started this, actually when I did this trick, it was a few weeks after I started the song in LA. And I was at the Musical Freedom Studio. The Musical Freedom Studio has a giant speaker system where you can almost recreate a club system. So I was really able to hear that something was wrong in the lower frequencies. So let me play it with without the sub. Now I'm gonna put the sub. Actually, I can really hear it with headphones as well. You can hear that everything is just glued together. Let me just play the bass and the kick. Once again, I'm gonna start with the sub off. And you can hear right at the first kick, you get the first kick, and then there's a moment where everything stops, and then there's the tom that comes in. But the flow is not right. I don't know, I always felt when I was producing this, I always felt that somehow in that part it was just slowing down too much. So I'm gonna play it again without the sub, and then after a few seconds, I'm gonna put the sub back in, and you can really hear what's going on. All right, here you go. So you can hear everything just sort of it flows much better, and yeah, I don't know, I'm super proud about this this little trick. I see a lot of people that are commenting the classics, useless stuff of who did what, and I already explained at the beginning of the video that Nervo actually did the main idea of the drop. So I produced it more, but they actually came up with the main idea of the drop, the vocal, a lot of stuff in the drop is theirs. They did a lot. I just took their ideas and I put stuff over it, and then I did the breakdown. But they did a lot. So just stop, right? I'm obviously showing what I've done. I can't show what they did because they did it. And this is obviously the project on my computer, so I can't show the project on their computer. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the kick. Kick, super simple. Just a little bit. I think the kick is actually from Nervo. Yes, because it's a stem. And I didn't do too much. I just gave a little bit of a bump on the 88 hertz, then a little bit of a dip on the 641. It just probably sounded, it probably had something that I didn't like, but other than that, I sort of kept it the way it is. It already sounded pretty good. Drums, there's a lot going on here. A lot of stuff is from Nervo, and a lot of stuff is from me. So let's play the drum part. All right, what's going on here? First thing first, again, this is in the same video that I was mentioning before, the one with the LFO tool tricks. There's this thing that I really didn't like in this stem. This stem over here, the claps, comes from Nervo, and you know, sometimes you get stems from other producers and everything sounds really good. I really like this percussion stems, but there, you know, sometimes you have stuff that just sounds a little too loud because they had something in mind, and then you start producing over whatever they sent you, and stuff doesn't really fit. So in this case, there was a very, very loud, I believe it was a hi-hat. And so instead of, you know, cutting the hi-hat, creating a new channel, putting the hi-hat wherever they put it, and then trying to figure out the right volume and everything, what I did was I opened an LFO tool, and by using this, which is the spectrum analyzer of you know, whatever signal comes in, by using this I tried to figure out where the hi-hat was, and I simply lowered it from here. So look at this. So you hear that, that sounds so loud. So if I'm bypassing LFO tool, listen how loud it sounds in the mix. So loud. Now, if I turn on LFO tool again, way more balanced. Took me like 2 seconds. You find where the hi-hat is, and then you just kill it with the volume on LFO tools. And I know that a lot of people still didn't get why I do that. They still don't get it. They're like, why don't you just cut it and just create a different stem? Oh, well, I mean, to do that, what you have to do is you have to create a new track, right? And then you get this, and then you drag it down, right? And then you put it here, and then you delete this one, and then you delete this one, and then you drag it down. You have to do this for the whole duration of the song. And I mean, this is the first drop, and then there's the second drop, right? And then you have to do that. And you lost how much time? You lost like probably 5 minutes just for a freaking hi-hat. Well, it really takes 2 seconds. You turn on your LFO tool, you find where your hi-hat is that is too loud, and you take it down from there. Again, if you are making your own drums, that doesn't really matter. Obviously, if you're making your own drums, you probably have all your drums in separate channels, and so you can decide where you want your volume to be. But in this case, this is something that I was sent, and to make it quicker, I just do that. And it's so simple, and people still don't get it, and people are like, why do you do that? It doesn't make sense. It actually makes a lot of sense. So yes, moving on. This was the last professor shit stuff that I did. I think that's the nerdy stuff. Other than that, everything is pretty average. So if we look, there's a lot going on with the drums though. So if you look over here, there's this, I think it's a hi-hat or is a ride. Let's see. Yeah, like a very noisy ride. As you can see, it comes in after 4 bars, and then it stays for 3 bars, and then it goes away. Then it comes in after 4 bars again. And the reason why is I like to keep my drums as interesting as possible. I like to switch them up. I like to put stuff in and then take it off and then put it back in again, so that the song kind of stays really interesting. Especially in a track like this, which is supposed to be very clubby, you get this synthesizer that is just like a Dutch synth that's not playing a particularly awesome or memorable melody. So when you have tracks like that, what you want to do is try to keep the people entertained as much as possible. Try to keep the listener as entertained as you can, because if the song goes on for this is like 30 seconds, yeah, the drop goes for 30 seconds, and you get this synth that just goes beep 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 for 30 seconds, and nothing else happens, this song is gonna sound super boring. So if you combine the bass that changes rhythm, that unexpectedly changes rhythm, and then you also switch up all the drums, you keep things fresh. And once again, if I play the song, I'm playing the song without the lead, just because I don't want YouTube to make a copyright strike. But if I play the song without the lead, and if you focus on the, actually I'm gonna play without the bass as well, so you can really focus on the percussion, you can hear how interesting everything sounds, even if there are no, even if there's no bass and no main lead. So here the stuff comes in and then goes away, and then there's more stuff coming in, and then there's more stuff coming in. So again, everything just stays, as just stays fresh. Cool. Now, what's going on in other parts? There's some fills. I don't think fills or anything. Not particularly worthy of mention, but whatever. There's like this stuff, like growly shit. This is from Nervo as well. They sent me this. I added stabs though, so I added this stuff over here. That sounds pretty good. once again, this just helps with, you know, it's ear candy stuff. It just helps feeling the spectrum. It just helps keeping the song interesting. Then we got, I mean, tonal effects and that kind of stuff. Nothing particularly crazy. Some Kashmir, some Vengeance. Nothing crazy. So let's go to a second drop, and then no, let's go to the breakdown. Breakdown first. Breakdown. I'm super proud of the breakdown. So I don't know. It just sounds so. It just sounds like when I was a kid and I was listening to dance music, and that's exactly what I wanted to have. No, the breakdown consists in the first breakdown at least consists in a very simple sound that's from Get Low again, and that's from the Rave expansion. It's called B.A. Borgen, and it's, there you go, it's this one. It's from the Rave expansion, and this is how it sounds. Not really. All right. Okay, so a couple things about this sound. If you have Get Low and you have this expansion, when you load this sound, it loads, I'm not entirely sure, but it loads like this. Which is the classic M1 type of organ sound. But I didn't want to have such a classic sound, especially because it's not aggressive enough, and it would have been, the contrast between the drop and the breakdown would have been way too big. So if you go into the layer menu in Get Low, you'll see over here there's a trash button, and if you turn it on for both oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, you get a distortion, and it sounds like this. Someone is asking me, how did you get your preset into Serum default presets? I mean, dude, I've worked at, like, a lot of the wavetables on Serum are mine. The most famous Serum wavetable is actually mine. I did it. The 48.8 wavetable, I did it. I'm really good friend with Steve Duda. I've worked on Serum 2 years before Serum was released. So I made wavetables. I made part of the graphic user interface. I made presets. The 3D design that you see in Serum is actually mine. I did it with Cinema 4D. So yeah, I've done a lot of stuff in Serum. People don't know, but yep, that's how my presets are in there. Anyway, back to the sound. What do we have? We have some filter stuff. By the way, the sound from the preset in Get Low is just, it's really all there is. There's the reverb and the delay from the preset. I might have tweaked it a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure. And then there's just about filtering. There might be something going on. No, it's just the SSL. So straight out of Get Low, the filter automates here in the build-up. So nothing crazy. Here we have classic, super cliche reverse into the extra sound, which if you don't know how to do, I might do an actual video for it, but I mean, what you do is you get a single note, you run it through a big reverb, you bounce that reverb, and then you reverse it, and this is what you get. Very simple. All right. Now, first breakdown, very simple. Second breakdown, my favorite part of the song. I mean, I like the whole song, but I'm particularly proud of this breakdown, especially this first part, this part over here. Someone's asking, do you use washout chains on the build-up? Sometimes. In this case, I didn't, but sometimes I do. Okay, so pads. Now, pads is done with 3 layers. It's it's 1 contact. Once again, my baby, Get Low. If you don't have Get Low, you should buy it. It's 40% off right now. So this is J60 from factory preset library. It's in the pads, and there you go. It's this one. So this is the first layer of the pad. Let's start it from the beginning. All right, the MIDI, it's kind of weird. I just wanted to have, I wanted to have the first part that sounded like some nice chords, and then the second part, I wanted to sound like a build-up, but at the same time, chords as well. So you get pretty much the same chords, but you can see that there are notes on top that make it build. So this is the first layer. Second layer is from the Kashmir expansion. It's Nexus 3. And the funny thing is, I made this sound. It's from the Kashmir expansion, but I made this sound. I made this sound in Serum, and Niles really liked it, and so he put it in his expansion. And so I figured I just use this. So Serum was a little too heavy for this project, so that's why I use Nexus. And this is how it sounds. And then there is another Nexus. This one still from still from the Kashmir expansion. This is called Island. I didn't do this. Niles did it. So I know you guys want to know who did what, so I'm just specifying everything now. Cool. So this is how it sounds. Cool, so if you play the whole thing together, also you can see here the Get Low layer is panned to the left, while the Lost Nexus layer is panned to the right. This helps making the pad a little bit wider, and then this pad in the center, which is sort of the more like the warmest and sort of the bigger pads in the different layers, that stays in the center, so you get the focus in the center, but then you get some sparkle from the other 2 layers on the side. So if we play it together, this is how it sounds. All right, now, how is the gate going? The gate is simply another LFO tool, and what's going on here is that the LFO tool, sorry, at the beginning of the breakdown, it's automated to be at 0%, so it's not working. And as the breakdown goes towards the end, I mean, not the end, this is a bridge, it's not really a breakdown, the breakdown comes over here. As we're getting to the end of this bridge, you'll see that the automation volume goes up, and you'll hear that the gate starts to come in. So let's play. So this is how you get that gate sound. All right. This part is the use of sub. Now, that's one thing whenever I get people to send me, when I listen to, newcomer producers that send me demos and stuff like that, there are usually, there are more than two problems, but there are two big problems. The first one is that the kick is always quiet, and I stress all the time about about kick. Kick has to be louder, but this is for a different subject. The other thing is that the songs are normally very unbalanced, especially in the breakdowns. You always want to have your spectrum full. Now, it's okay to have a part of the song that has no bass or that only has breakdown with big pads. The key to make the pad sound bigger is not detune, it's not stacking more pads on top of it. It's just having a very good, very big, also very simple, because you'll see that this is very simple, but sub underneath the pad. So if you see over here, there is another get low. I think it's the same Diablo preset, yeah, that's playing in the bass part. Although this time it's not distorted and it's not playing, it's just a long note. I'll play it to you for you in a second. But you have this big sub that's supporting the whole thing. So I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna explain a couple of things. Oh my god, all right. I don't know if you can hear, again, if you're on a laptop, this is probably not the best, probably not the best way to listen to this thing. But if you had headphones on, or if you're on some decent speakers, you can hear that this bass is actually doing a lot. Now, why is this bass not following the key changes in the first part and it's only doing it in the second part? Reason is, once again, keeping things interesting, and when you keep a long notes under chords, if everything is in key, you create tension, and this long note over here creates a lot of tension. So in this part, when the key is straight, the filter in the pad is also opening. So you get this, I don't know how to explain, but you sort of get this growing effect. So you're going from a very loud part, which is the drop, to this little bridge that's going to take you to the second breakdown. And that part just creates so much tension. And then when this part comes in, the second part of the bridge, the notes in the pads start pitching up. And I also introduced the bass line in the sub that sort of lifts the whole song up, and it just makes it, I don't know, more awesome. And I'm gonna explain what's going on in the second part as well of the breakdown. so everything will start to make sense. But for now, if I'm playing again the pads without anything, you can hear that, I don't know, for some reason the song doesn't really go anywhere. Like, it doesn't resolve itself. While if the sub is turned on, when the sub is turned on, it feels like it's going somewhere. And this is, this is really important. This is, one of the things that a lot of people don't do when they make music is they don't think. You gotta visualize your music. I'm not saying they're not thinking. I'm just saying, I don't know. You gotta see it as, I don't know, I might be too romantic here, but you're telling a story. You are taking the listener to different places, and so you got to be able to tell the story and put little details about the story. So that's the biggest problem when I hear demos from other producers, that they just throw sounds in, and for the most part, like, a lot of ideas are cool, but when you tell a story, when you have little ways to tell a story, the song just becomes so much better. And don't get me wrong, 90% of the people will never hear or realize what I've done here. You're not gonna hear someone who's like, oh my god, he put a long note and then he changed it in the second part of the bridge because it resolved itself by the time the second breakdown really comes in. That's never gonna happen, or at least 4 people are gonna notice that, and then 1 million are not even gonna care. But they will somehow feel it. That's what I learned. It doesn't matter if people don't hear something. In a way, they'll feel it, and that's what really makes a difference when it comes to music. Okay, now after this whole romantic freaking thing about music and production, let's go to the second part of the drop, which is something I really, really like. And again, we get this, it's just get low for the most part. Again, the organ one from the Rave expansion. But what I really, really like is that you go from a very full part with all the, the sub and the pads, everything just sounds so big, and you drop into literally 2 sounds, which is, once again, get low and the step that I played before, but they are filtered. And what you get is, I don't know, I love the atmosphere that you get on this. So. So, just very simple. The only cool thing, again, you get this stab over here. Let me just mute them. That they already filter as the breakdown comes in, but as the breakdown goes on, they get filtered more and more. And what I really like is that the stab hit in the only part where the organ sound is not playing. So you can see here you have the stab, and here you have silence from the get low organ, and this keeps the flow going. you get a really nice question and answer kind of thing. I just really like this. Is probably my favorite part of the song. So I just really like this part, and this goes with what I was saying before. You don't want to have too little too long. So in this part I only have, once again, get low and the stabs, but it doesn't last too long. It lasts 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then after 10, 15 seconds you get some nasty 808. And the 808 then becomes sort of an uplifter for the build-up. So let's play this part. Why did I put an 808 there? Because the second breakdown, sorry, the second drop, it's a freaking disaster. It's not a freaking disaster, it's just the apocalypse coming, and this is what we wanted. So one thing that I don't like, or that I don't really like, it always makes me feel so lazy. I don't like to have the song basically doubled. Let me explain this. If you listen to a lot of EDM song, what you get is breakdown, drop, and then you get another breakdown which is exactly the same as the first breakdown, and then you get another drop which is exactly the same as the first drop. If you listen to my frequency, the drill had a slightly different drop in the second part, but it was very similar. It was too similar. I wasn't happy about that. I've done something but didn't make it to the end of the final version of the song. But if you listen to my frequency starts with a breakdown that is just, it's kind of a build, and then it goes to the first drop, and then it goes to a second breakdown that is similar to the first breakdown but it's different, and then it goes to the other drop that is very similar to the first drop but it's different again. It has a higher pitch, it has some different stuff that's going on. So I always try to keep stuff as, you know, fresh as possible. Same thing I did in this drop. We didn't want to have the drop to be the same over and over again. Like I said, you know, I don't really like it. And the cool thing that Nervo did when they sent me these stems is that they changed the lead in the second drop. They sent me this. Ooh, sorry. It's over here. And I felt like that thing was really cool. And when they sent me their version, they didn't really plan to have this as a drop. It was like a little bridge or part of the breakdown, I guess. I don't really know how they envisioned it, but when they sent it to me, I was like, oh no, we got to put an 808 in this, and we got to make it like super gnarly. I mean, obviously it's not particularly gnarly, but you know, for the type of song that it is, this is as hard as you could probably go. So what I did is I put some 808. Now the 808 are from shameless self-promotion time. 808 are from my Serum library. Boom. And Serum is not loading. There you go. And this is the preset. It's called Cartel, and this is how it sounds. So that's the 808, and you notice that the 808 has no kick, has no punch. Reason is the kick over here is, sorry, the punch over here is given by the same kick that we are using in the rest of the drop. Now, why did we do that? If you do something like going from an 808, where it's basically a distorted giant kick, and you go from something like that to a normal house groovy drop, you're gonna have a million problems. Stuff's not gonna sound right. Mixing is gonna be incredibly painful, because obviously you have an 808 and then you're going to something that sounds completely different. So what I found out is that if you use the same top that you have in the second part of the drop, if you use the same kick, or at least the top of the same kick, what you're gonna get is more consistency. And if you see here, again, I used the real, the original kick, and let me play it. All right, so as you can see, stuff just sounds a little bit more consistent. Now, let me try to put the real kick of the 808, and I'm gonna mute this part over here, and then I'm gonna put the kick over there. So what you're gonna hear now is the attack, the 808 with its original attack that drops into the part with the normal kick. And you can hear that there's going to be, you're going to hear that there's going to be a lot of difference. So here goes. So you see, you're going from something that is like very chunky, very, I don't know, it just doesn't have the right attack, to something super clicky with a lot of transient, with a lot of attack. It does not make sense if you're mixing this stuff. Like, you're never going to be able to mix this. So once again, the way I made this library, this boom library, is that you can get rid of the click, and not only that, you have a little bit of, now you can't really see it here, but you have a little bit of envelope on the amp, so that you can leave space for the kick that you want to put on top, and everything is going to sound right without phasing and without creating any issue. Now, yes, I would love to bend this idiot, but I can't really do it. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. So, I mean, the guy really wants to come out of the closet right now, so I'm glad you're using my freaking live stream to do that. I hope you find the man of your life. Anyway, yes, it's without sidechain because it's already, the way I designed it in Serum makes it so that it has sidechain. It leaves room to some sort of attack on top. So yeah. All right. What do we need to talk about after the second drop. Oh yeah, there's the editing, the processing that I did on the 808. This is the Virtual Mix by Slate Digital. I love this plugin, and I'm actually doing some presets that are going to be free. I don't know exactly where are they going to be free. If they're going to be free on Standalone Music, or if they're going to be free on Slate Digital website or whatever. But yeah, so I made a bunch of presets, and this is one of them. And so if I play the 808 without the virtual mix, this is how it sounds. Oops, sorry. And this is with. It just makes it better and fatter and way more louder. I love Carnage. I always just make fun of him. I don't want. I'm not making fun of him in a mean way. We're really good friends, so I always make fun of him. Anyway, so yes, that's the 808, and once again, from the 808 part, we go to the normal drop, which is just the classic first drop that you hear before. Now, what is there to say? The vocal doesn't have really that much to say. It was from Nervo. It's them singing. I didn't do much. The only thing that I did was this part that just has a little altar boy that makes it sound terrible. But somehow, although it sounded terrible, it just worked really, really well in the drop. This is how it sounds without. I don't understand why there's a gate, but I think, oh yeah, no, I remember why there's a gate. I put it on purpose, but I didn't remember where it was. So I mistakenly changed the algorithm to beats, and if you have the beats algorithm, what you can do is you can decide the length of the transient. So right now it's at 36. If I put it all the way up, you hear that the vocal doesn't sound as stabby. Right, it sounds like a normal vocal. While with the transient all the way down at 36, you get this very stabby effect, because the Ableton is trying to get the higher picks, and then it's going to make them shorter. So you get this. And the reason why I did this is, first of all, it was a mistake. I wasn't trying to do any professor shit on this one. It was a total mistake. But when I did it, it made the drop sound so much cleaner, and everything sort of had its own space, because you only get that little part, that little transient, and then you have silence, and that gives space to the rest of the song. And the song is pretty busy. This was probably the hardest song for me to mix. And after that, I put a little bit of altar boy that makes it sound. It makes it sound even shittier. But again, for some reason, it worked. And yeah, that's it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is it. I know you guys want to see the master chain, but I am sorry. Look at what's on the master. There's nothing. Now, reason there's nothing on the master is because I use hardware, and when I use hardware, I need to render everything at a higher sample rate, and if I am doing that on the live project, on the main project, there's no way that this thing is going to work unless I freeze literally everything. So normally I do the master somewhere else in a new project. And yeah, I use the SSL compressor, and I use the invisible limiter. Although now I'm using the, what's it called, the precision maximizer a lot. I saw it, what was it? I think it was, I forgot his name. The Russian guy who works with who works with Ssl. I saw one of his videos, and he was using the precision maximizer, and that sounds so good with the transient. So I switched back to the precision maximizer. But yeah, the main compressor is the SSL compressor, the real one. If you follow me, if you follow my videos, you've seen that before. I have a hardware that I absolutely love, and even this song was mastered with the hardware. So I can't really show you the master chain, but what I can show you is this little trick that I did. And this is going to be the final thing that I show on the live stream. This is probably the longest live stream in history. Mastering isn't important? Mastering is super important, man. What the hell? I mean, it won't make your tracks better. Mastering is important. Trust me, it's really important. It won't make your track, it won't make your idea better. That's true, but it will make your track better if you know how to do it, obviously. Anyway, back to what I was about to show. If you see here, you can see that I have a send with an 1176 from UAD open. And if I solo this and I'm playing, let's play the first breakdown. Sorry, the first drop. Let's actually turn on everything. So what you get over here is a very compressed version of the song. So I learned this thing on Reed Stefan YouTube. Shout out to my boy Reed Stefan. I saw he was around at the beginning of the video, at the beginning of the live stream. I'm pretty sure he's not here anymore, but if you want to learn more about this trick, it's on his YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's the video he did with I forgot his name, Schweppes something, not the drink. It's a mastering. It's a very famous mastering engineer. So he explained this this little trick, which is some sort of a parallel compression, but it's a more surgical type of parallel compression. Let me explain. Now, I don't even really remember how it works, but if you see over here, this is the send. This is the amount of volume that is sent to this auxiliary channel, so to this compressor basically. Now, you see that the kick is at 0, so the kick goes on full volume and super loud. Now the bass goes there at -2, so the kick is 2 dB louder than the bass, once again in the auxiliary channel. We're not talking about the whole mix here. We're talking about this, whatever hits this compressor. The drums, I'm not entirely sure. Yes, the drums go in at -4, and the synth goes in at -4 as well. So why is this different compared to a normal parallel compression? It's different because in this case you control exactly what elements gets compressed more than other elements. So in this case, everything reacts to the kick. And normally, yes, all the stuff reacts to the kick regardless, because the kick technically is the same, technically is the loudest part of your song. But by doing this, by creating a parallel compression on an auxiliary channel, and not by sending everything to it, but by sending specific elements at specific volumes, you get an extra layer of control over what gets compressed and how it gets compressed. Again, if you check out Reed Stefan video, once again, not in the live stream, but whenever I upload this video to YouTube, I'll post the link up there. The guy, Sheps, I forgot his name, he explained this very, very well, and it makes a lot of sense. And when I saw that video, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually cool. And so I started doing the same thing on my project, and I've been doing, this is the first song where I've done that. I've done the same thing with my frequency. If you go back to the my frequency video that's on my channel, you'll see that at the end there is an auxiliary channel with the 1176 open. I didn't show that, but it's in there if you look at it. And also, I think the drill also has that trick. So if you are really into mixing, and if you want to be a super nerd when you're mixing your songs, check out that video. This is a really, really good trick. He does that with the Waves 1176. I've done it with the UAD 1176 because I like this better than the Waves. But you know, you can do it with any compressor, any 1176, any other compressor if you know how they react. Obviously, I did it with the 1176 because I like the sound and it was easier to replicate the same settings. That's it. This is literally it. This is the project of Love on Me, guys. So before I leave you, you probably have a lot. You probably don't have a lot of stuff to do. We're all stuck at home anyway. But before I go, once again, if you're interested in Get Low right now, 24th of April, Get Low is 40% off. All you have to do is, I'm gonna drop it in the comments. Use the to get 40% off Get Low. So if you check out the comments and use the code BECKLOW on standalonemusic.com, you're gonna be able to get Low 40% off. This is my promotion part of the video, so please. As you can see, I use it a lot, not just because it's my synth, but because you know, I put a lot of work into it, and I put a lot of work into making presets that that you can use in your own song. The other thing is follow me on Instagram. I've been streaming like crazy. I have a crazy setup right now where you can see this is the image of me is streamed from an iPhone that's connected to my computer, and then the microphone is something else that's connected to my computer. Everything is streamed from OBS. I'm doing some crazy stuff, and I'm able to also stream video games. I'm able to stream on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram, follow Standalone Music on Instagram. I'm gonna be doing a live stream where I listen to your song, either here on YouTube or Instagram. So if you don't follow me here or on Instagram, make sure you follow me, because I randomly pop up. I don't really like to schedule stuff. I'll just, I'll wake up and be bored and be like, all right, I'm gonna go live and I'm gonna listen to stuff, or I'm gonna show you how I made this project and all that kind of stuff. So yes, thank you so much for tuning in. This was a fun hour and a half, I guess, or probably even 2 hours. No, hour and a half. thanks to my friend Lorenzo, who's upstairs, who set up all this like amazing lighting setup and the blue underneath here. This is all awesome. And thank you for tuning by. Stay safe. Hopefully this whole situation is gonna be over soon. And most importantly, if you haven't yet, go check out the song Love and Me. It's out now on Apple Music, Spotify, Beatport. It's out everywhere. I think we're dropping the video today, actually, the official video, which is super fun. So yes, if you are watching this video not from a live stream but from the re-upload, put a thumbs up if you like the video. If you made it till here, wow, congrats. That was an hour and a half of your life that you're never gonna be able to take back, but hopefully you guys learned something new. And this is it, guys. I'm gonna go probably order a pizza or eat something. From me, David, Seven Skies, as always, thank you so much for everything, for the love, for tuning by, for the questions, for everything. Really, thank you so much. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.